All right. Peace, peace. Let me know who's online. Oh, that's no good. No. Peace, Drill. All right. Wise you, true power. All right. All right. 7-7. Night Eternal. That's a long ass name. But I see it. I see it. It's got to be there so we can see it. Let's see. All right. 793rd. Okay. So let me know how your week has been, what you've been building on. All right. Let me know if there's any questions that I can go through, anything. Building on getting the best part. That is so vague. I don't know what to do with that. I don't know what to do with that. Just doing the knowledge and reflecting on this last 365th day. I don't know what to do with that either. We got a lot of days left. How was this the last 365th day? Unless you were insinuating very cleverly, that it is your born day. Soon come. Let me know. I don't know. Let me know how up to date you have been with the Peace Course columns that I've been throwing up, or anything on the 5% media page that you are curious about. I like that more students, more of y'all was asking for, definitely asking properly and usefully for the some of the plus lessons and things I've been handing out. Engaging. This is your opportunity to use a full spectrum of a classroom, engaging in the materials offered, the resources, and all of that. Sometimes may not be using it. So I'm right, 7/9/30. All right. Happy pre-born day. All right, that's peace. Maintaining. Is that what you want to do? Is maintain? Sometimes I used to say maintaining when I was young with the nouns, be like, yo, peace, how you doing, God? So I'm maintaining. Outside for God, we don't maintain, no. We always add it on, though. Maintain, you just mean to stay the same. You know, not really, not really the definition, technically, but, maintaining means continuing in the present course of action in its same consistency. So how potent is the consistency that you are now maintaining? Right? Isn't that the answer? Well, as you said, building that revolutionary mind at all levels so I can enjoy the fruits of my labor in this day and now as well as hereafter. Very interesting. Very interesting. Uh, what are the fruits of labor? Right? What are the fruits of labor? Right? Most of the Eastern ways of spirituality, the fruits of labor, are often shunned upon. The considered fruits of labor, the rewards, you know what I'm saying? What you think you ought to get if you perform certain tasks and stuff. You know what I mean? What have you defined? These are rhetorical questions. If you answer them, it's cool. If you don't, it's cool too. You know? Right? What are the fruits of labor? Right? Achieve your goals in such a way that there is some type of return toward you. Well, what is the return? What if we work on all these things and we're only greater at certain things? There doesn't seem to be any typical fruits that we usually see. Or we cannot figure out what the fruits are. And that would be the largest task. Right? I'm being philosophical because when I answer you all, and this is something I've been doing for a long time, it's just a habit. When I answer you very philosophically about what you say, and what you're developing and things like that, and your responses, is because I am deliberately trying to get you out of the robotic answer. Okay. Especially in this cipher here, this digital cipher here. There's another week where the students that I build with regularly aren't really coming to the classroom, but contacting me outside of the classroom. But the school is not getting regular walk-ins, on the other days, maybe on a Saturday and stuff when people don't have work or stop by. But during these evenings, these particular Thursday evenings, right? But the point being though is that to kind of analyze the worth of what you're saying, that things may sound good though, but they might not be able to catapult into something else. or catapult into something completely useful, even if it sounds good, you know? So beware of, and have you wary by being beware of diluting statements, you know? Statements that, you know, can kind of, you know, sound generic, you know what I mean? Especially in this nation. Sun God Allah, peace. I know a lot of sun gods. I don't know what sun god are you. Saladin, all right, peace. Wise you said, I've examined everything, then act according from food labels and led to best health possible, fast from grafted food and stick with that, which is original and the same. And you're constantly adjusting, constantly adjusting. Saladin said Mike Tyson doing 1,000 crunches a day, hitting speed bag, road work, eventually becoming world champion. This is what you're doing, Saladin. Sounds good. 793 said always, actively and constantly is not to sound generic whatsoever. Mm-hmm. See, the thing is like this, right? They don't really tell you, right? You see this more in practice, but we get the knowledge itself, and we're taught certain things that seem generic. They're the line that the you know, wisdom is the wise word spoke, and things like that. These are things that are not wrong to say, okay, and doesn't mean that they can't be said to the people. But you have to realize that a lot of times, most of these sayings are used so that way amongst us we know what you mean, but more usefully or more importantly, when they're spoken to the 85, they might be understood, but only on a sparking level, only on the level of sparking interest. So now, if you stayed with those generic sayings or those correct sayings that are very, if you really think about it, they're very concentrated. You know what I mean? Even though we say them a lot, though, they're concentrated. Though they have a lot of meaning in them. If you don't know how to take it from there to the next step, then what happens is that like you won't be able to actually now adapt to the particular individual you're speaking to. You know what I mean? And then now you just sound really like dope. You know what I mean? But not really. You gotta understand, right? The way that we speak and all these things and they spark interest and stuff, it literally catapults the type of music that was made the last 30, 40 years, right? It's hip hop. And it's a great example because it's about words and poetry and abstractness and capturing interest based on a word that is dynamic. I mean, that's what we do, you know, like that's how I write. I don't even, although I make songs, I'm not a rapper, I'm a writer. But this is how we write in this generation, that's how we grew up. What happens is that in this generation, they're very used to that. You know what I'm saying? So used to it that it could become diluted. So now they could be sparked by very, lines and ideas that aren't really very profound, though. But they come from a basicness, and I mean that in all insulting, a basicness that we're not really speaking at. Peace, God. Everything's peace, God. A basicness that we don't speak. Like kind of like when you hear a bar from a rapper now that's on the radio. I say on the radio because that's where all hell exists. And if you talk to youth, they find this like really dope. You know what I mean? They'll be like bar, and you're like, no, it's not really a bar. It's really trash. Like it's basic. You know what I mean? So what happens is the spark of interest could be too complex, too high. You have to be able to adapt to the individual. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes that might not even be the way you spark the interest. You know what I mean? That might be where you summate the interest, like where you put it all together. You know what I mean? and then it, becomes something bigger. You know what I mean? For example, um, if you're building on knowledge, wisdom, and you may not go into love, hella right immediately. You know what I mean? That might be a complex topic, right? But you might be talking about things that they could learn from, and that they could then use, and then they can see things for themselves, as opposed to letting other people tell them what is the truth, right? And let that be their one, and then actually do things the way that these people are end up doing two, and then they never come up to their own understanding, which means that when they are misled, they don't know how to retrace their steps, right? A person following someone else can't retrace their own steps by themselves because they are not their own steps. You know what I mean? So you might be able to say something that way, and then you say, listen, it's got to be your own love hella right. So what that love hella right though? Well, the 12 letters L, so we're talking supreme mathematics, and that's the meaning of the letter L. And it means the way that we go into something is through our own efforts, our own love, and we what? And we go through this hell of our own making, this particular work of our own design. And it could be as astronomically difficult as possible. That's why we say it's hell. There's no fear because we always come out right. It is our own right. And we have all right to the righteousness that comes about. You see what I'm saying? You see how I built on today's degrees, alphabets, concepts in the degree, today's degree in the alphabets, today's degree in the mathematics and the alphabets, and yet I started from a point of simplicity, and then I used that as the summative, and then now what I did was I used the way that we speak about the knowledge, right, as a trigger to have them remember. You see what I'm saying? So now the way we were taught is that those more generic things that I'm always abhorring and getting on you all for saying, these are the triggers that you use to help the 85 remember concepts. You know what I'm saying? They're not always, now, in my understanding, they are not always as consistently useful, right, for us as the end all statement, because we understand the concepts and don't need that trigger. Okay? So what happens is that once we use these concepts and say the generic party line, this is the nation of God's in the 5% concept, then what happens is that we say, okay, that's what it is. But then now it's been done too much. It doesn't challenge. It isn't fresh. It isn't new. And that's why I have to consistently try to say things differently. You know what I mean? Right? This is why we all are, part of the coursework is to strive to have you develop your own self-styled wisdom. Okay. It isn't self-styled so you sound fly to everyone else. I write a lot of things and I say a lot of things that people don't say. But that is because I worked hard to say things to myself that would cause unique results that no one has ever come to. When I come to these unique results, what then happens though? Then I can say, this is a self-styled wisdom. And then now when I write, fight, rewrite, right? I said that in the song. I write, fight, rewrite. I write for myself. Then I fight with it. Now I can rewrite. You see? This is a personal thing. And then it goes out there into how it goes into the world. So these are things to think about. Why I'm not allowing, almost not allowing you to just be okay saying the regular, the regular build. You know what I mean? Saladin, okay. Sun God, okay. Sun God from IG. They'll be doing the graffiti. Peace to the God. Incredible stuff, God. LT said, "Oh, right. Appreciate you, LT. Wise you said, indeed, gotta know whom, what you're amongst, then you can aid them correctly and equally, right? That's right. All right. Peace, Knowledge Allah 120. Jarrell, I'm glad that we like you put that in the build too. That's peace. Halftime peace. Wise you gotta know their language. That's right. That's right. You know what I mean? Remember this, right? Remember I taught about what interorientation means, right? Two people, two sets of people, right? So I put all the fingers. It could be two sets of people, right? And they speak different languages. And one is bringing their idea to the other. The truth is that when we bring this knowledge of self to others, we have to remember that if we only speak the language that we have, supreme mathematics, this might end up being an interorientation. It doesn't matter if it's a correct idea or a righteous idea or a well-meaning idea. We bring it to the 85 though, and it is not in their language. It's now an interorientation because they wouldn't really know how to use it or if it was worthwhile, how to test it. So we could put them in the same position, and it is a pompous position to put them into. So you have to be careful. Like you have to interact first and figure out the language, right? And then once you got the that divide, then you can what show them the concepts you have. You can orient them to the new concepts, but then also orient them into the language because once they know the language, right? He does not speak his own language, right? Why was that so important? Why was that attached to culture? Because once you teach them the concepts, you're also showing them the language along with it. You're educating about both because then they can engage in these concepts, these very difficult concepts of knowledge of self. Knowledge of self is a difficult concept. It is not a difficult concept, but it is because it is true. It is a difficult concept because it is not lived in today's world. So it's difficult to apply. That's what the language aids in. So you have to be able to not just interorientate them. Speaking mathematics to 85 is interorientating ideas that are correct, but in your language only. That won't work. So you gotta be careful with the generic because it sounds simple when you say it to me and among the class cipher. And then I say, oh no, I'm being a pain. You know what I mean? I know you're saying that. I hope you're saying that. But that is the goal. That is what I mean. And again, I love to share the point of why I'm saying things. You know what I'm saying? I want you to get and take note of the pedagogy that I'm sharing with you. Because if you understand the way that I'm teaching you, then you not only first teach other people, but more firsthand, you'll be teaching yourself. You know what I mean? You'll be teaching yourself, and you'll know how to teach yourself and what are the things that are working for you, and you take note. And in your journals, one of the best things to write is the effectiveness of how you are learning, which means how are you teaching yourself, right? What are the things you're bringing to teach yourself, right? Okay. Okay. Peace, but everyone's life is an example. Observation others could bring about an and collectively individual. Sure, of course, solid thing. Peace to the gods at earth. All positive thinking people. Right? All right. Malik. Malik, I got your email. I don't know if I answered it though. I'm a little late, on some of them. Some of them came yesterday. If you emailed me yesterday or today, I don't think I emailed you back. You know what I mean? And down July 120, you said, self-style wisdom. This is something that I obviously didn't make up. This is what the father was described as. And when I was learning from my elders, knowledge me and infinite knowledge of Mars, savior knowledge, right? They always spoke about not only doing something with your unique talents, but also always taking note of a self-styled wisdom that you have a unique way of doing things, and you have to find that. You know what I mean? You have to work hard. You have to work hard to find that. Indeed, 793rd says, "I see the effectiveness of speaking with original style." Yeah, there's so many things for them now that are so-called popular, mediocre, and basic consistency. Yeah, you know what I mean. And I have never taught. Never assume that you have to dumb down. What you're not. What you're doing is you're going down and then bringing up. You know what I'm saying? Um, you don't leave them dumbed down. True. Peace, peace. Who's that mystery god?
It's the green one. What's good, G?
Peace to the god. All right, let me turn a little bit. I have to, as you know, God, and not too many people are coming because they.
When you're leaving that, just hit the power on the TV.
Yes, God,
You
definitely.
know where it's at on there, right?
No.
The bottom, the last one, on your right side.
Okay.
At the bottom. I'm not leaving yet, but I'm just going to give you some minutes.
Okay, God.
But if you look at it, I finished it already. But I know you in your class.
That's peace, God.
But I finished it. So.
Indeed, that's peace, God. However you're comfortable, God. You know, move however you're comfortable. All right, Jarrell said, when I first walked into the school, one of the older guys actually, what about the wisdom? I was there with my girl, and I thought he was talking about her. All the other gods resounded and said, what about the wisdom? I didn't know then that the order of the experience was due to knowledge first until I learned further what that meant. That's interesting. I don't. You got me. I don't know what they were doing, saying what about the wisdom. Maybe it's something you said, or you were speaking, and you know they. I don't know. Weird. But that's interesting. Okay, I never seen this name here. Rabbani. I hope I'm saying it nice. You know, Rabbani James. Why is physical fitness so important? Okay, I'm gonna answer that a little later. Najla said, "Peace to God's peace, God." Halftime said, "At me, at me." Please elaborate on what you just said about not dumbing down and bringing up. Okay, thank you for that. We speak so that way people could understand, though, right? And sometimes we often are speaking so that they could. We say it as simple as possible, and then we leave them at that level. We're always speaking at that level. As you go along, though, you actually want to show them that there's a higher level that they can attain to. You know what I'm saying? And of course, this goes different with everybody because it depends on who you're speaking to and you know what they attest to. You know what I'm saying? And whether they show that these things aren't. I'm giving generalities for things that are very distinct based on you know individuals. You know what I mean? And are adaptive to the individuals. You know what I'm saying? So, like in all these years teaching, though, I don't really refrain from using a bigger word. I would expect you, and I teach you to stop me, so that way I could, you know, explain the bigger word. You know what I mean?
Ask questions.
Right? Yeah, you know what I mean? Because then you might not ever hear the bigger word. You know what I mean? And one of the, for example, when you educate yourself, right? When you pick a book, you are educating yourself, right? In twofold, you're a teacher and student. So before you start to read the book, you're a teacher because you're saying, okay, me, the God, like, what am I ready for, right? What book am I ready for? Right. You know what I mean? And then you're like, nah, I ain't ready for that though. That's too heavy. You know what I'm saying? I'm gonna hold that. Oh, this is too easy. It's gonna waste my time and stuff. Okay, this looks like something, but yeah, maybe you might go, okay, I do this often. I'll be like, oh, I read too many books about this subject. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, I have favorite subjects. I always be overdoing reading Taoist books, you know, and stuff like that. You know what I mean? So I'm like, oh, let me chill with those. You know what I'm saying? And then what happens then? Then now I'm being a teacher. I'm evaluating where I'm at, what I need to do. I'm assessing myself as I select. Once I select the book, right? Then now I'm actually like becoming the student again. You know what I mean? So in this kind of way, this is you realize that you don't read a book and you're going through it. You don't slam the book down though. Like when you go, that's a word I don't get. You know, you don't slam it down. This fucking book, I hate this guy. You know what I mean? I'll write an email to this author here. You know, the fucking nerve of this guy. You know what I mean? Imagine that. Like that might happen though. This world is crazy, but
right. Instead of just picking up the dictionary, looking up the word.
Yeah. Absolutely. You know what I mean? And the thing about it is that like when we deal with people though, they're gonna feel a certain way if you're willing to treat them like you, not like you. It's a very fine line between condescending, you know, speaking down to somebody with all these big words and shit like that. You know, like when you hear hip hop has a lot of these examples. Like when you hear an MC and he uses big words and shit like that, then you know they're really not necessary. They don't sound all that good, but you know he's throwing them in there so he can be, yeah. And you're like, ass fucking guy, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You know, you're really telling us the same shit everybody else says about the white man, police brutality, blah blah blah. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Except you had to use like big sociological words and shit, and you know you had to do all that shit, and it's whack. It's condescending to us. You know what I'm saying? Whereas, and it's funny because obviously you know, we're here all the time and stuff like that, and then he's my last interview, the god Dark Kim, right? When you hear Dark Kim's work, Dark Kim's vocabulary is very good. But when you hear him rhyming and stuff like that, he talks directly at you. He doesn't, you know, overwhelm you. You know what I'm saying? But you feel like you're with him. Like he's not dumbing down for you, but he's also right there with you. You know, this is a way of communicating. You know what I'm saying? A way of communicating. You know? And then remember, when you build people, you're not going to be with them in a classroom. You know what I'm saying? In a classroom, I can do this, though. I speak to other students that might be in the street. I might have street students. Like I could, in my life, I kind of decipher between who's a street student and a classroom student. You know what I'm saying? Because I know that sometimes the people I meet outside that get this knowledge, they might be able to sit down in the class. Like they didn't know that I teach this. So then they could come to the class or be in that cipher with me on the line now, right? As an example. But sometimes I teach people and I'm like, nah, this nigga will never sit down for nothing. Like this is, you know, like he needs something ASAP. Like he needs something now. And he needs, so now you're deciding that knowledge build degree, right? Civilization, righteousness, plus the knowledge of self, and then the science of everything in life. You're not teaching the science of everything in life to the person that you just had 2 conversations with. You know what I mean? You're not even teaching the knowledge of self. It's not really necessary. You have to see where they're at with civilization. And that's why you have conversations and stuff. Right. Like, you know, they have to be aware of this whole shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I'll give you an example of civilization teaching that people have overdone this last 2 months, especially the last month, October into November. And that is, yo, God, they all devils though. Why are you going to vote? You know, like, this is where you could beat people in the head, though, with teaching them civilization. Because civilization is the civility towards each other. And then we know that this society is not true civilization because it's all, it's really all done for show, because for survival. So that way they don't, you know, literally get put into prison houses, because they did build prison houses in this one, right? And so now you have to worry about that. And most people are basically following law because they don't want the consequences, not because they have a general civility toward each other. It's just that they're forced toward civility. It's different. It's very different. And these are things that you would show people, you know what I'm saying? That you would show people. Or what I like to say is that this is not the peak of civilization. We often look at time and civilization as a parallel. You know, so like if it's back then, it's whack. And if it's now, it's better. You know what I mean? And we might have peaks of technology that you didn't see back then. But at the same time, no Western civilization has ever been able to just build a pyramid. They literally can't do it. They cannot actually build it. And no Western civilization society has ever, hell shit, they've never built a building that lasts 1,000 years. So, or even they know that their buildings can't last 1,000 years. You know what I'm saying? Like they could probably only, the buildings they have probably last like maybe 50, to 100 if they're built really great. You know what I'm saying? If they're built really great. You know what I mean? Right? But that's what I mean by the point of it all, right? And as I ramble on, okay, I hope that makes sense halftime to what I was expounding on. Let me read some of these comments. I'm going to go back to the physical fitness Rabboni. I'm saying his name all messed up, so that way it's Rabboni, Rabboni. I'm going to keep saying it different ways, though, so that way you can correct me.
Like Bonnie James.
Rabboni. I've never seen that name, so that's why I'm butchering it up, because there's all ways I could flip it, right? Okay, so I had to provide more. Yeah, LT said, today's mathematics tells me to observe and express what I see is the best part of what I know for any cipher. Indeed. Very good. Very good. You know what I mean? And in your journal, LT Station, here's a good example of working on the day's mathematics in your journal. In your journal, right? Write down things that you actually observed and how you took it through the mathematics, like particular things. Make your build on the day's mathematics and exercise that you do, like what he just said, do that as an exercise. Then like he would do that as an exercise. He would say like, what are these things I'm observing and how am I, you know what I'm saying? And now you make it from like a good statement that all of us, the gods that we're building, accept as true. But now it has more context because you could bring it out to the world like that. And that statement isn't like just the teaching. The whole living with that statement is the teaching you're sharing. And then now the statement is how you sum it up and pitch it into their brain at the end. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
You're giving these people triggers, though. You know what I'm saying? That's why when you go do the knowledge, though, if we're going to talk with bad grammar for that long, it's for a purpose. You know what I'm saying? And it's for these triggers. You know what I mean? But what happens is that I don't want you to always say this like this without activating it, because then it could be things that you lose as well. You forget to actually use them, though. You think you solved it all by explaining it all. Oh, it's a big problem. You know what I'm saying? It's a big problem. Because you're not going to be the God for like 4 years and shit. Right? It's for the rest of your life. He's got this knowledge for you the rest of your life. No matter what you do, you say, I used to be in the 5% and shit like that. No matter what, deep down, you know that you have this shit. And it's just how you're ignoring it, though, if you're not this anymore, right? One of those, right? But you always got it. So you can't get rid of it. Okay. Jarrell said, I had said peace. I thought from what I heard through music that wisdom was the woman. Oh, okay. Later, I learned that wisdom was ways and actions of putting into action. Oh, indeed. Well, wisdom could be the woman. Depends on the context of people talking. You know what I mean? But it's more like slang when we're talking amongst ourselves and shit. You know what I mean? Right? Saladin said, peace, awareness, one of what it is you're trying to accomplish, coupled with discernment, two. See, he used wisdom as discernment. Very interesting, because it's weighing the knowledge, using it. Very good. What works with discernment, two, what works and what doesn't, should allow you to see, right? To see, three, your goals come to fruition. That's good with Saladin. Really strong. Yeah. You know what I mean? If I was giving out stickers, I'd give you a gold star there. That's good stuff, Saladin. YG said, all that is given is always appreciated and helps to see the different ability that one should have in his pedagogy. That's peace. That's peace, YG. Jarrell said, it seemed that he was asking me to quote degrees. Maybe he was. By the other guys asking questions, it was implied I needed to know first before I could speak wisely. Okay. Halftime said, understand so well said, explanation, appreciate it. Okay, definitely. Cough cannabis, cough. Okay. LT states that the Arctic Ocean is a body of water. Water represents wisdom. 390,000 square miles tells me to see and reveal culture. The four ciphers divine. Okay, I see you. I see you. You're getting all Dumar Wadi on it. Yeah, breaking aspects of the degree down. You see, and that's how you code things to make it more for you. You know, when it gets a little generic for you, you code it in that way to give yourself a depth to things. You know what I'm saying? Malik said a needs assessment. Indeed. LT said meaning, good, positive, righteous culture, meaning, way of speaking, what to eat, dress, all that makes culture show the divine way of life, see what is good and reveal what is good. All right. D1X. Peace, class. I don't see an icon there. All right. Peace, D1X. And interesting. He doesn't have an icon, no circle, nothing, no random figure. Jarrell said, today's math is knowledge, wisdom, all being born understanding, living out awareness of my nature. Holds a square with empathy. Interesting. Living out awareness of my nature holds a square with empathy. Choosing love for what's right, no matter what the hell is around me. To observe is to see and also keep it the scene or seen. The scene or seen in mind. Oh, Jarrell, you're just flipping the script here. Right? You just poeticize this though. You better copy and paste that into your journal and stuff. You know? That's a longer build right there. I like that. That's going somewhere. You need to copy and paste that, keep that. And I hope that everybody, not just when I say it, but when you do write it, I hope that you write these down. I hope that you put these in say today's date, you know what I mean? November 12th, 2020, and say today's math, and keep it there. So you can go back, you know what I mean? And either laugh at yourself or add on to it, you know what I'm saying? Right. What are the black and brown seeds within this? That's the second good question I'm going to answer a little bit. Very good question, Malik. All right. LT Stations continued on. Reveal what is good to any, for everyone, everywhere. And once again, the four ciphers, this time it can represent news, right? Northeast, west, south, right? Share the good news or information. Everyone, always. Very good. Very good. Very intriguing builds there. Man, when I ask you guys to build, you go in. I don't know. Germs, right. Okay. Yeah, no, Malik, I got what you meant. I'm going to answer that in a little bit. Queen Eye, Wisdom, Peace are the idea of journalism in today's math is a great way to develop your application of supreme math. Indeed. I've been doing it since 99. You know what I mean? I think I'm all right. Wisdom is also defined as judgment in the Oxford Dictionary. Hence, discernment. That's right. Yeah, it was a good word. I never used that word for that. You know what I mean? Right? It's got me there. Really good. 771 Eternal Sun 77 said the way / way as in weigh something. Yep. Right wisdom is also the way, he also says. That's right. LT Station says peace to everyone. I typed up a building. I said peace, and that one, it was too long, so I had to do another one. I didn't say peace again, probably subconsciously trying to make sure it wasn't. No, not all the deep builds fit here, but remember, all of you are always invited to continue this conversation and build with me deeper online, right? The more that we build, offline, either through email or something like that, or we get to the level where we build enough though, we're texting and stuff, then we can really, do something, you know what I mean? And get you to the next level, you know what I mean?
Yo, with my soil class, y'all can see Medina, we use the Telegram app. I don't know if you're familiar with Telegram.
No.
Yeah, it's a pretty good app where we can create a group. Like you could create a peace course group on Telegram, and everybody that's in the chat, outside of the days of the course, we could add documents, PDFs. We can just put questions out there.
Mm-hmm.
There's even phone number. You can do voice messaging, videos, and everything.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
good.
you know, so that
That's
could be a good
good.
supplement to your course.
The God's talking about the Telegram app. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm gonna have to look into that.
Yeah.
770 I Eternal said, that's how you get from hell to right, keeping what you know in practice. More importantly, in the context of using your knowledge wisely versus foolishly. That's peace and D. Okay. D1X. Any relation to DX21, my brother Day's son? He might not like using something similar to his stuff. He's like that. You know what I mean? All right. Today's math is knowledge, wisdom, born understanding. Knowledge is the foundation that exists in all things and is infinite, and most important to continue at any cipher. And when wisdom manifested, knowledge of God, which I just continue, what brings forward understanding, which is the child. Okay. Universal family, sun, moon, and stars. I see it. And understand being the best part of knowledge manifested through wisdom. Okay. LT said, peace. I'm at work right now. I have to talk it to text. And a number of times the bill did not go through. Too many characters came to find out. So I'm leaving little brief parts. No problem, LT. What you've been throwing in has made sense. So that's good. All right. I got you 793rd. Okay. All right. About the germs and stuff. You know what I mean? All that means is the dominant and recessive genes in the body. You know what I'm saying? Um, what I like to say is the black and brown germ is really like a representative idea of the genetic makeup of the original man. You know what I mean? And the original people, though. It's really the spectrum of complete reality within a genetic structure from the dominant to what we would call the recessive, though. You know what I'm saying? Remember, we look at dominant and recessive always like, one is strong and one is weak. That doesn't necessarily mean the case. You know what I mean? In those typical terms that we apply to other things. You know what I'm saying? For example, right? If we look at our limbs, our dominant limbs are our legs and our arms are weak. You know what I'm saying? But I don't see anybody trying to exchange their arms or get rid of them because they're weak. You know what I mean? It's because the arms are weaker that they are able to have these fingers in this way and do things that are more intricate. You know what I'm saying? Right. So when we look at the germs, that's really all it is. You know what I mean? So when they talk about separating the black and brown germ, you're talking about the entire spectrum of reality of what is the black family. And in this case, they separated by what? The shades. You know what I mean? And then by separating by the shades, they're isolating and separating, right? And by doing this, though, this weakens the reality, and because it opens up for the destruction of one and the manipulation of another. You know what I mean? And, right. Remember, when we talk about Yaku's rules and regulations, we're also talking about mental grafting. Mental grafting is an important part of it. Mm-hmm. The constructions of heaven and hell, the realities of heaven and hell, all these kind of things. You know what I mean? That's important. Indeed, Queen Angela, the time of grafting out of the original, right? Right. D1X, I'm not sure about your statement there. You said 600 meters underground, I think, the M meters, and black coal is most vital when brown is weaker because of oxygen. I I would beware of metaphorizing the black and brown germ of the original man. Here's why. Every single black man has a black and a brown germ. That's in a degree. The original black man has a black and a brown germ. You don't have a black germ like the black seed, and that we're not separating people first. With that degree is talking about each black man has a black and a brown germ. Only by separating the people themselves. If I separated you from someone else, I didn't separate your black and brown germ yet. Okay? So we can only separate the black and brown germ once we start to interact. In other words, like any chemistry set, putting the chemicals together. How do we do that? When you start to mate, right? And you will selectively mate. And then we can get these chemicals mixed together and we can separate them. And people think like they just took the black people out back and shot them. No, that's not the grafting process. The grafting process is the black and the brown mating together, and then that children are literally the chemistry, the chemicals that become used in the chemistry set of Yaqub to separate. And now he's separating the black and the brown, who come dominant. What? Who's more dominant black? Who's comes out recessive brown? One is not weaker than the other. It's when they get separated that they can study how to separate them. And of course, though, they're also provoking the separation. So it's even a different type of separation than just separating them and mating them, separating them after they mate, or selecting them as the doctors and ministers would do. You're also what? Thinning the original man's blood and things like this, right? So it's all the experiments to dilute and tamper. Then the mental psychosis that the nurse is killing, but also talking about the places that are now new in existence, which changes the mindset of those who are making the next, generation of children, right? This grafting process is very engaged, you know what I mean? So it isn't just like strong black folk stand here, proud brown folk stand there, and then you just shoot them all down, and then you just that wasn't. It's not what the degree says. It's not what's happening. You know what I mean? So be very wary of the metaphors. You know what I'm saying? Saladin, mental grafting, of course, so the use of propaganda. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, because the idea of heaven, there was a value to heaven, right? Once they teach about heaven and the angel baby, there becomes a value that it makes trauma easier to deal with. You know what I'm saying? Kind of like Obama speaking. He soothes people. You know what I'm saying? Makes trauma easier to deal with, though. He's an angel baby speaker, right? Yes. Yeah, so Obama's an angel baby speaker. He be talking and people be soothed and shit. You know what I mean? I'd be watching, I was like, man, smooth. You know what I mean? I'd be soothed. And I'd be saying, like, oh man, he tried to graft me, you know what I mean? You gotta watch out for that, though. Right? I'm being funny, but that's, kind of like. That's the truth, bro. Yeah. You're right, D1X. You want to find physical examples, though, but remember, there are very little physical examples. What Yaqub did was very, very unique. You know what I'm saying? Very unique. Right? Hap Harris, peace. Right? Okay. All right. That exactly that, I know you see it. That's same with coal. They're separating it. It's turning brunate naturally. There is mines and some tunnels and ground. There is oxygen pollution where deeper is black. And it's in the mental of the earth. Okay. Again, I didn't say it was a horrible example. I didn't say the metaphor doesn't work in some respects. You know what I mean? The difference is in this, right, is that within each original man, the black and the brown germ exists. You know what I'm saying? You got to remember that. It's within each black man. You know what I'm saying? Queen Eye Wisdom said, we need to zoom into the grafting process. It's becoming a factor in this day and age. I think so. You know what I mean? Especially because this generation now, this woke generation, this millennial generation of woke, is very conscious, but in a westernized schooling way. They didn't really they didn't go to college. I was in college, but I also got street knowledge too. I was here at the same time. They just got radicalized over there, and they're very distant from movements. So a lot of elders that were in revolutionary movements, they had no idea. They're not in touch. So what happens is the tools of the Western world are often in categorization. That helps you understand the differences between things, but it also doesn't always show you the unity of things. You know what I mean? And I think that's a major flaw. You know what I mean? Yeah. D1X, you said, but it's in the Earth's mental. What is the Earth's mental? Okay, because now you're attaching a metaphor and being real. So very, I'm not discounting what you're saying. I'm saying be very careful that you don't over metaphorize, because now you're saying that the Earth's mental is like deep within the Earth and something like that. There is no mystery God. There is no mystery Earth. So you're not going to dig inside the Earth, and there's not going to be a black woman talking in there. I'm being funny with it, right? Because we take the metaphors, the sun. You're not going to plunge me into the center of the Earth, and if I survive, let's say, right, I have like some super suit, and there's not going to be a giant, like a guy, he has Allah's head, and he's there at the center of the sun, and he's telling me shit. That's all metaphor. Be very careful. I fuck with metaphor all the time. Be very, very careful. Not everything. Use the metaphor, use the reality of the Earth, though, this place that we made that reflects us, right? But understand that this grafted process, though, if we start to think about the separation, understand this: the black man is made up of the black and brown germ. Okay? And okay, grafting takes time, is affected by some outside intention. Right, and that was Yaku's rules and regulations or process. You said I'm right and exact. Well, let me say this thing once, right? Just think about what you're saying here, right? Let's talk about that one thing, right? Because this is a classroom, right? If you're in the classroom and you're telling me you're right and exact, then you don't need this class. What the fuck you need the class for, right? Right and exact. So who am I to talk to anybody that's right and exact? If you're right and exact, though, you go on your way, you be right and exact across the street. I'll be right and exact over here, and you take it to the street or wherever you're taking it. I'm telling you something so that way you could see how the metaphorizing stuff might be missing some of the actual concepts of what grafting is and what was grafted. Okay? What was grafted? Okay? Because these are not two types of coal, a black coal and other natural brown coal somewhere else. We're talking about that black and brown coal is all just one thing. See? And the building blocks to graft, though, aren't in the individuals, the 59,999 followers that were brought up into P.E.A.C.E. It's when they interact, right? And semen starts to hit eggs. That is the chemistry set of which Yakub grafts, not the individuals that are brought up in there. He doesn't separate and say, we keep the black here, brown there. No, he's mating them selectively and cleverly. Because those fathers and mothers, whether they are black or brown, they will die out eventually. It's what he's doing to the babies. That degree's talking about killing babies. It's not talking about killing adults. The cremator is not going, okay, you did your thing, Pops. It's about time to return you. Right? Nah, their thing was to what? Mate. And if they refuse to do that, then obviously they didn't build prison houses to imprison them, and so they returned them. But the wisdom build degree isn't talking about what they did to the parents. You know what I mean? It's talking about what they do to the babies. You know what I'm saying? The babies, right? So see what I'm saying here, okay? I get what you're saying, but be very careful when you over metaphorize stuff. You know what I mean? All right, D1X, when you say black man is energetic in its highest form of that, okay, you know. So am I, Saladin. I'm very curious how people will enjoy his book. It's just in the final editing stages, I think, for him and stuff. I got to read through it too, just to give. I'm not editing his book. Don't get. He didn't ask me to edit his book. I'm just reading it and stuff, and throwing ideas at him, whatever I think about it. My thoughts. Well, he said that's why Yakub doing is graphically because Allah is mathematics. Okay. Those are kind of incomplete statements, so I don't really know what you mean there. So you're saying Yakub doing his grafting process because Allah is mathematics. I don't know if I don't think that's the reason why he did it. You know what I mean? Yakub didn't graft the devil. You know what I'm saying? Because Allah is mathematics. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Yakub's an original black man. Mm-hmm. The problems that he isolated with his grafting process already existed among the original people, and he amplified them, and instead did something that not everyone agreed with. So you get the exiled Indians, but then what you also get, right, is the idea of a concept that gets concentrated into 6,000 years. So it's a lot of horror, but it's concentrated into less years, right? And I hope that, and I didn't forget the Rabboni question. No, I'm good, God. I'm good. It's like I've been reading and writing all week, and I haven't spoken this long, like all week. You know what I mean? And actually the last time I spoke was like for a long period of time. Was Monday, right? Monday night when I did the Classic Stone Radio and had Dark Kim as the guest and Endemic. But yeah, I don't do a lot of talking. That's why I could teach you. I'm doing the knowledge most of the time. I'm thinking about what I don't know. You know what I mean? And I'm not talking shit though. You know what I mean? When I'm around the Goldie Gods, I'm listening to Oldie Gods though. A lot of Oldie Gods don't even know my voice though. They just know what I did. You know what I'm saying? But peace, supreme freedom. I'd be a pain in the ass though. You know what I mean? Trust me, D1X though. If the God Day Sun was here and he saw your name D1X there though, he'd be getting up he'd be all up in it. You know what I'm saying? Indeed, there's no mystery. You know what I mean? Genesis Germ, can you go into the 6,000 years? Well, what do I have to go into the 6,000 years? Like, what is the idea of this though? You know what I'm saying? The 6,000 years is less than a quarter of a solar year, or a Quran, which is 25,000 years, a solar year about the same. And those 6,000 years though are really what? Dealing with this issue of separation. You know what I'm saying? Because the thing is, right? When you have an idea that is supreme and that can be done, what you have to realize is that once you manifest the idea into the physical, now you make new problems. You see what I'm saying? Now you make new problems. Guy has a great idea for songs, for a book, or anything like that. Once he makes it, though, he gave himself new problems. And he may not have known what problems he made, because he concentrated ideas into a forum and put them out there. You see? Same thing with Yaqub. He had ideas about why. Why does this rule need to happen, though? We don't get insights in there. We don't get insights about, yeah, why did Yaqub do this? We get insights about why Allah does everything. Allah is what? To show and prove that the black man is God, right? Always has been, always will be. And if you really then think about it, then that was the reasoning that Yaqub had, right? We have to accelerate this process and destroy this separation by separating completely and then seeing the issue head on. You see? Sometimes I see Yaqub as someone that said, listen, we got to deal with this issue right now. We have to deal with this right now, right? See, in the way I was taught, though, when he was 6 years old, right, D1X, when he was 6 years old, that's also, that in itself, though, is not when he was that's to show that he was precocious, but not necessarily 6 years old. You know what I mean? Some elders would teach you that he was 33, but that he saw this understanding, a principle, and how to apply that principle of the piece with the magnetic attracting the piece without the magnetic, right? Because that's just the principle that was used to make devil. That's just the principle. It always was. He didn't create the principle. He just realized the principle, and that was the application that he used, right? Now, the people that went with him, Saladin, are the ones that are dissatisfied, right? They agree on some level with Yaqub that there ought to be a place, though, where they can deal with the dissatisfaction of the way things are going or the way things could be going. See? Now, there's a lot missing there. There's a lot missing. You know what I'm saying? Just like the degree says there's other rules and regulations not mentioned in this lesson. If we knew some of the more rules and regulations, then we might know what was happening. You know what I'm saying? Just like when you learn rules and regulations of the streets, then you know, hey, what's happening on these streets, you know, like what's going on there. We don't know all of them. You know what I mean? Okay, let me go back. I missed some comments here. I hope that answered a little bit of Malik. You know, not everyone agrees with the plan that is going on. Just because there are best knowers that have the power to advocate and perform what they see as right and exact doesn't mean that everybody agrees with it. So when they say the Indians were exiled, those original people didn't agree. You know what I mean? I want to answer Rabboni's question about why. It's such an obvious question, though, but it's a very interesting question to me because it bugs me out. Bugs me out that it would be asked. All right, D1X, you're really talking in like, I don't know, like biblical metaphor here. I remember when I was 6, lost wife and herded people, made a lot of decisions and choices. That's some 6-year-old life, though. That's a lot of trauma there. I don't know. Give me a complete sentence here, brother. I don't know what's going on there. You know what I mean? Okay. CB, I'm assuming that when you wrote 11, you meant knowledge. You're trying to say peace, though. Say peace. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? Say peace, you know? Because I can tell you that you're off by a day in the mathematics. I don't know what you're doing. It's November. I know it's November. It could be a whole bunch of things. I never seen you here before, Rabboni, but you asked, why is physical fitness important? Because shit is real. How about that? Shit is real. Because shit is real. You know? Because you're going to have to learn how to defend your family, because you're going to have to learn how to keep yourself as strong as you can for as long as you can. But at the same time, though, because of the wrong foods, because of the environment that is destructive, So it's the only way to adapt and keep strong. And hell, whether there's a virus or you think it's, or people don't believe in the virus, those a lot of people's dying. And a lot of people's getting sick. So whatever's out there, you better be, the only way you're going to be able to deal with it is be physically fit, right? And let me tell you something. The Greeks got a lot of ideas from the ancient Egyptians, right? The people of Kemet. One of the major ideas that they always got was that physical fitness, though, is an actual way to augment the mind. You know what I mean? This is something that the Greeks even used to say. So basically, the sound body, sound mind thing is like, when you're able to activate the entire body, then that means that you also make the what? The vessels that manifest your thoughts much more fluid. Your mind, your brain is stronger. Your brain is more vital. So you're able to advocate quicker into that form. You see? You're able to express yourself in a way that's more, more cohesive, right? And now the body is not a hindrance, right? But a wonderful form. All right, let me go back here. What D1X said, what made me realize when I acknowledge all those things, I know how to deal with women and people. I don't know what knowledge, I don't know what knowledge you have to tell me. But I'm glad that you do. All right, that's Peace, Malik. I'm glad I answered. Wow, D1X though, you really love that coal, right? Yeah, you regular coal miner though. It's always back to the coal.
Back to the coal.
Brother love coal though, you know what I mean? If there was a mystery Santa Claus though, he'll give you coal for being a good boy and shit. Like, love you some coal, like taking that metaphor to, man, I'm just messing with you because it was right there. It's like
From West Virginia or something.
793 as well as a strong immune system. Right, that's what I meant. That's what I mean. Certainly 793 to run and feel one's best part, simple plan. Yeah. And if we got children, right? When my children grow up, I got one daughter who's 19 and stuff. But when she's in her going into the 20s, she's going into her 30s. I want to be able to go run with her. I want to be able to do things with her, not just be like, I can't do,
Yeah, you got to be fortified.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Yeah, And trust me, if you don't think so, it's gonna amplify everything. Right? Saladin said, peace, like this Trump situation. All the Republicans don't agree with what he's doing. He's got a whole lot of problems to deal with. Right? Coup, jail, taxes. Yeah, isn't it fun? Yeah, it's fun to see. It's real reality TV right there. So D1X, you're telling me you are a coal miner? No, that's peace. If you're a coal miner, that's peace. Then that means that like the work you do, you see the value in it, though. I'm just making jokes here, but like that's real. You know what I'm saying? Right? Yeah. Saladin, you talk about the connection stuff. I hope it's. I can't do anything about it though. I'm not getting any notifications that it's messed up, so I'm gonna blame it all on Saladin. It's just your computer that's messing up. That's peace D1X. I get that. I get that. 793. That's good. That's good. You's an old man though. 793. He said he's in his power ciphers though. Old man. What you in this classroom for? 793rd, that's closer to your age, huh? Maybe it's not a street. It's on 793rd. That's. I'm just messing with you.
So he get his Jack LaLanne on.
Yeah. Just let me remind y'all that one of the most important books that I always, give out is The Science of Breath. Now that we have this virus and you got to wear a mask all the time and everything like that, what I mean? There's a lot of moments where you're getting a lot of bad air, you know what I'm saying? And not enough oxygen and stuff. So the breath exercises and the science of breath and these different yogic exercises can really help you get your chi back. You know what I mean? Because a lot of times you can get headaches and things like that, and just have a lack of energy being outside. It's really because you was wearing a mask.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like sometimes now, like if it gets colder outside, the air is pushing, and the mask isn't as much a problem. And sometimes it's okay because you're cold. You know what I mean? But at other times, you could be on a train and they got a lot of heat and it's real stuffy, and you're gonna feel almost suffocating and stuff like that. You know what I mean? In those cases, I would say like, yo, dip that mask off, get some air. You know what I'm saying? Right? But
I was doing analysis too. They said something like the stress of COVID-19, just the whole scenario, the situation, and everything, is adding like 1 to 2 years onto your physical age.
Yeah. So we can't let it. You know what I'm saying? We can't let it. We can't. We have to adapt and just be better at building on our own. You know what I'm saying? We have to find new ways of making money. We have to do all this. You know what I'm saying? Right? All right, I missed some comments here. That's peace, supreme freedom. All right. Okay. Happy born day, God. A lot of born days, man. Okay. Knowledge. Wow, that's a nice question there. Can you knowledge Allah? Can you? Oh, I hope I answered Raboni the need for physical fitness. You know what I'm saying? Can you expound, knowledge Allah says, on the difference between proclamation of supremacy and essence of humanity? All right, let me think about those. The proclamation of supremacy is often ego, so it could be done without any works. You know what I mean? It could just be done with knowledge of a truth, i.e., the original man, the knowledge degree, right? The essence of humanity, though, is what does essence mean? Like, how does it run? What continues humanity? Humanity is not continued by proclamation. Humanity is continued by what? The actions taken upon right? The righteous actions taken in the name of humanity. The proclamation of supremacy can be a beginning to engaging in upholding the essence of humanity, but it's just a small start. It's just a small start. You know what I mean? To say that you are supreme doesn't necessarily take you to understanding or even engaging in what is the essence of humanity. You know what I'm saying? Because the essence of humanity is the idea that all creators are created creating in this creation. And even if we're the true and living God, we respect that even if others aren't even the true and living, even if others are supposed to be the true and living and aren't, right? The 5, 10, 85 original, black, brown, yellow, white, everyone has an impact on this creation. You see? And that really is what the essence of humanity is. And then now your proclamation of supremacy is supposed to take you to a lane where you understand the responsibility is the action. You see? So you could get the proclamation might not lead you to the next step, but it's certainly a step. You know what I mean? It's certainly a step. Yeah. Very interesting question. Right? Oh, you're talking about 793. You talk about the gators, right? Like the things, yeah. You know what I mean? You can, yeah. You know, they're a little bit easier to breathe and stuff like that. You know what I mean? You know, and you just try to see the positive out of it, though. You know what I'm saying? Because even if you're like, man, ain't nobody got corona no more, nothing like that, or corona already took out the guys that was, you know, weak and couldn't take it, and you know, I don't really see the devastation. I know somebody got a germ somewhere. We're in New York. I know somebody got is gross. I know somebody smells. So, you know, I try to take the positive out of it. You know what I'm saying? Because yo, it's a lot of bad breath and a lot of nastiness that I ain't smelled. A lot of swine dishes I walk by in the trains and shit that I ain't smell because the mask helped me deter it while I walk past them. So, you know, I try to appreciate the pluses of certain things. You know what I mean? The pluses, you know? And then you can do that. You know what I mean? All right. Swine and funk protection, yeah. Let me see. I had some things here. I don't, you know, has things I didn't want to write there. I don't. It's like it didn't update. Okay. You know yeah, I'm trying to find my notes because they didn't update the right way. Yeah. Bugging out that it didn't update. Yeah. Okay. I updated my class notes on the train, but it didn't somehow didn't take, or is
Yeah,
not.
probably the same.
What a fail, Google. Seriously. Fucking fail. You failed me, Google. All right. Anyway, one of the points was okay. Moria Shiba, you mean? The art I'm assuming the art of peace, right? All right. I had written a piece though where I just really went all out though in that concept of ego-based learning, and that we don't do that. You know what I'm saying? Oh, I certainly don't do it. And I wrote down like a list of things that since I've had the knowledge of self, things that I dispelled, or not by myself, but things that I've often had to dispel. You know what I mean? And I wanted to go through these, you know what I'm saying? Because they're right there and they help give clarity. Since we were talking about it, it's relevant, some of these things. The first one I said, brown and yellow seeds weren't made during the grafting process. A lot of people think that the brown and the yellow was made during the grafting process. That's just poor critical thinking and poor reading. It's just poor reading. It's not. The degrees talk about the Indians being exiled 16,000 years ago. Um, it also would suggest that the cremator in the wisdom bill degree wasn't that good, right? The cremator didn't kill all them babies. You know what I mean? It left some of them. You know what I mean? All right. Let me know if y'all are with me, because Saladin, you're telling me that connection is kind of choppy. Is it choppy for everyone else? I don't know.
It's good on mine. It's
Yeah.
probably his, I was thinking.
Saladin, you know what I mean? Like, what are you on? Saladin's on 3G. He got 3G. He's 2Gs down.
Right.
I'm just, Saladin he got 1G and shit. Can't be watching the class on the Obama phone. You know what I mean? Like, fuck with y'all, man. All right, so I want to go through these, and if I don't answer them completely the way you feel satisfactorily, where you feel that it makes sense, that's good. Real Pop 216. All right. Let me know. Let me know. And while I'm doing this, of course, if you have any questions about anything, throw them out there. You know what I mean? This is what you should be doing. After a whole week, you should have some questions. All right, the second one, I said our collective or personal experience of oppression in any form of racism, discrimination, or persecution doesn't prove who the original black man is versus who is not, as well as prove you the God. Hell, you just might be that nigga that traded Nas for the black cloud that follows. Well, in other words, so a lot of people in this end, again, with the categorization, you have things like black people, and then you have non-black person of color, and all these designations. A lot of these designations aren't really just made phenotypically by what you see, but they're also being made to separate people based on the levels of oppression that they experienced. And they are different. People are experiencing different levels of oppression. But we cannot make We have not liberated ourselves if our forms of categorization are only based in how they treat us, because that means that no matter what we say, just because we acknowledge it, now it's they who are categorizing us. You know what I'm saying? And it's they who are telling us who is black. You know what I mean? And say we say somebody's the original black man because they're original seed, and so no, nobody treats them like a black man. They, you know, like let's say the Chinese, you don't treat no Chinese nigga like a nigga. You know what I mean? Like you go like that. It doesn't matter. That's not the framework of the categorization. Okay. And if all the original people were all treated the same, no, everybody would get the picture quickly about the old white man, and it'd be exile number 2, right? Because that was the point of him being exiled, and then Musa going up to teach him. Musa had to go teach him to chill, engage yourself, offer yourself to the people, learn how to what? Build homes for yourself. In other words, go back to society and not just take, but know how to give something so they'll let you in. You got to engage in society. You know what I'm saying? All right. And I know this seems obvious. Peace, God. Indeed, God.
You gonna turn off the screen too, right? In there, or you want me to turn it off now?
You can turn it off, God. Yeah, that'll be easier for me. Yeah. That way I don't have to figure out more tech. That sounds easy enough. Okay. Okay, good. All right. All right. This sounds easy enough about people's classifications and categorizations, but when you're dealing with the 85, right? A lot of times you won't get into arguments and you could let things go if you realize that they are defining their revolution, their militancy, their anger by just how they're treated. You know what I'm saying? And all you have to do is sit down and say, listen, I'm just saying, like, why are you a black man? Why are you a black woman? Is it because of the way that they treat you and make you a black woman? Because a lot of times the identity is always as opposed to that. You know what I'm saying? And that's where, you know, that's where it really becomes, as they say, toxic. You know what I mean? That's the real toxicity. You know what I mean? That's where it gets problematic. I hate that word too. And you go, that sounds problematic. You know, is it a problem or is it problematic? You know what I'm saying? All right. This next one on the list. The Indians exiled 16,000 years ago doesn't mean they aren't original, just that they were in disagreement with those who are right and or more powerful. When people are exiled, it just means that the other people were guaranteed most likely more powerful. In this case, we could say that they were right, because when we look at this, when we study the indigenous peoples of North America, right, and South America, they obviously didn't know about Yakub. However, for years and years, though, there was interaction, and that's why civilization, meaning pyramids and all the things that we talk about ancient civilization, were present on all the lands that we call the different continents, especially South and North America. So we know that the migrations that we're talking about here of this exile 16,000 years ago isn't the only exile that produces the indigenous population of North and South America. Okay. And the book Africans were the first Americans. The first Americans were African, by David Imhotep. A very controversial title, though, but basically saying that we're all pretty much the same, and these are just old ass Africans that went over there. That's really with people from that landmass, Africa, that went over 50,000 years ago, and then there was another migration 20,000 years ago. And he separates the book by peer-reviewed literature and then literature that is not completely peer-reviewed but suggestive and needs more study. So the arguments are so powerful with the peer-reviewed literature that there's a the thesis is spoken. It's legitimate. You know what I mean? But these original people, we're all the same people. It's different migrations to different land masses for a long amount of generations that produce all of the phenotypes that you see in the world. It manifests the black, the brown, and the yellow wherever they went. Okay? Those migrations that lead up, those two major ones that are documented, the 50,000 and then the 16 to 20,000 years ago. The 16 to 20,000 years ago is mainly what Ivan Van Sertima's They Came Before Columbus is about. Okay? That's mainly what his is about. Okay? All right. Yeah, millennial catchphrases. Yeah, cancel and shit. You know what I mean? Right? Yeah, nobody's been able to cancel me yet, though. This show keeps going on. You know what I mean? People tried to cancel me before there was even a word for that shit. Okay. This is about building here as the gods and earths. I said the best way to defend the law school of Mecca is to set up consistently led forums that teach and instruct the youth the truth with the tools to test, prove, and create with it. Everybody want to defend the law school, this kind of shit like that. Come and do something here. Actually do something here. You know what I mean? All right. And all the people that are hollering and everything like that, they ain't coming over here. You know what I'm saying? Trust me. You know what I mean? And I done everything. People talk a lot of shit. They'll say this, they'll say that. And I said, listen, we could meet here and build, or we could meet behind the Apollo and we could talk about it there. You know what I mean? People don't come. They don't build. Right? They just complain. I was building with the guy. Said, you know, I'm going to leave his name out. The more builders that come, the people that come and destroy, that have the negative cipher or just coming here to hustle, they get X'd out. You know what I'm saying? They get X'd out. I'm here every Thursday from 7 to 10 for the last 20 years. You don't see anything stupid happen. Nobody goes, yeah, there was some dumb shit that happened. Around Thursday, 8 o'clock. No. Everybody come at a certain time and add on and build. Something will be done. And that's the same thing with everything. That's the same thing with everything. You know what I mean? Your mornings suck and are useless, then make sure you make something up to do in that morning. And then now that morning is never a waste. You know what I mean? And if something you're trying to do that's useful doesn't work when you do it, then save it for another part of the day and do something else that time. Always be, switching, fixing. Don't abandon the plan, rework it. Don't abandon the goals. Sometimes you abandon the plan of action. It's something Confucius used to always say. In the Analects. Right. Real Hip Hop 216, I can't even get into how people come to hustle and do stuff. You know what I mean? And what I mean by hustle is not like, hey, look, I got these cracks. I'm going to sell on 126. It's going to be great. No, I don't mean that. I mean, like, they'll come here to do something that isn't being done here, but it doesn't benefit anyone else. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't benefit anyone else, though. Right? And that's what I mean, though. Some people do stuff and it don't benefit none of the youth. It don't benefit anything. And it's just basically your cheap hustle. That's what I mean by that, The school, you're right. The school is for getting knowledge of self, right? But here's the thing. The school is not just for getting knowledge of self. The school is for the youth. It is to make things for the youth. And once you learn from the school, whether indirectly or like out vicariously outside or in the school, then if you come back to the school, then your goal is to say, well, what could I add on to the school? How could I add on? You know what I mean? And this is the thing, right? Like, for example, you see the God, he come, the God's, Dark Him comes, right? Dark Him comes nearly every day here now. There's many gods that's qualified. We're not the only ones, me and Dark Him, that should be teaching and teaching other things that people know.
Yeah, I got an idea for
right?
A chess program, like a chess.
And that's the thing, God, things like that. You know what I'm saying? But how to implement it, what could you do? How would you need resources? How to protect those resources? You know what I mean? All those things. Of course, though, things are difficult now. With COVID and things like that. So it's hard to apply, you know what I'm saying? Right? But this is something, these are a lot of these things I wrote down in this piece are basically from the years, you know what I mean? They're not just from these moments here, you know what I'm saying? And Supreme Divine, like any class, though, you're late. You're late to the game. So you catch up, get in where you fit in, right? Grab a seat. You know what I mean? Get in where you fit in. Next one on this list, I said, if anyone walks into the classroom demanding ideas of people come into this classroom, they are very funny in retrospect, man. That's all I gotta say. And I just wrote that down because it was funny to me, and it never stopped being funny. But had dudes come in with like the fez, but it had like their own version of the universal flag, and it shit looked like it had like 100 points on the sun. I'm telling you, I had like a whole million. I said, "What flag is that? Where the hell you came from?" Yeah, it was like the bush, right? 1,000 points of light. Yeah, the Bush's universal flag. You know what I mean? Right. The connection is slow, so I'm gonna have to fix that typo later. But I've seen a lot of crazy stuff though. So like, in the ciphers that you have, they might not be ciphers here, but the ciphers that you make with students as you go along, a lot of you brothers is older, right? And you start teaching people and stuff like that, have command of your cipher. Make sure that things that you don't accept. Because sometimes I've seen ciphers accept wild shit because they wanted numbers in the cipher. They wanted more people. So they got used to accepting things. And I never was like that. I'm just like, get out, because I could sit before the digital world now. I can sit down here and I would read or write until 10 o'clock. If nobody came all those years, I just sit down and read and write. And then I just go home. You know what I'm saying? So somebody is going to be a student in this damn room. You know what I'm saying? And that's the way it was. And I'm willing to kick out people that is just going to be, detrimental. And the thing is, like when you deal with a voluntary classroom in a community school, that's a school for the community, especially in Harlem, you deal with a lot of psychosis. Deal with a lot of people that like have, mental issues and shit like that. You know what I mean? And I ain't trying to solve all that shit. You know what I'm saying? Especially if you're not a baby. You know what I'm saying? If you're not a baby, you could walk yourself right out. Yeah, you did that shit. You know what I mean? I appreciate that. Real Pop 216, And Dark Him is big bro. He's one of the older guys that put me on and how to rock this. Literally. You know what I'm saying? When I got knowledge, I spent a lot of time with Dark Him. You know what I mean? Not even on some hip hop shit. Not even, because we're from those worlds, as a journalist and him as an MC and producer, All right, the next one I said, the more you learn about the student, the easier you can share. Teaching, a calculated, sincere sharing of information and its tools of learning in the most honorable manner. That's what teaching is. I'll say it again. Teaching is a calculated, sincere sharing of information and its tools of learning in the most honorable manner. If you're not doing that, you're doing something else. You know what I'm saying? If you're not doing that, you're doing something else. And that honorable stuff means something. You know what I mean? Means something. And you know, people see that, for example, if people see that I've taught many, and it's like on some pay it forward because I expect people to, you know what I mean, do stuff for others or even me. I'm not even doing it like that. I'm expecting that you do what needs to be done. You know what I mean? But I got taught by everybody. You know what I'm saying? I have a lot of teachers. You know what I'm saying? So the way of teaching, though, is something I've been blessed to see a lot of. You know what I mean? Blessed to see a lot. All right, moving on. I said you teach youth even if it does not include the knowledge of self they don't want. That's a fact. Some of these kids are paying in the answers, right? They be paying the answers, though. You know what I'm saying? Teach anything well enough, you will have shown you with true living. They may see their air like in this manner. You know what I mean? Sometimes you gotta, you know, be in the community. You gotta be with the people. You gotta understand what they're dealing with. That doesn't mean that you have to like the stupid music they like, though. Okay, don't go that far. Don't go that far because we're not trapping and I'm not dancing to no Spanish trap and shit like that. You know what I mean? You could leave all that reggaeton shit out the window. But the point being, though, is that you understand where they're coming from. The reasons, you know what I'm saying? You gotta have that earth, wind, and fire. The reasons that they're here, right? Yeah. That's a new saying from Darkin. I'm not that type of helper healer. Is there a meant for that? Yeah. That's a new understanding from Dark Kim, and I know what sparked it though. He gave me the story. He funny, Dark Kim, man. Oh man. All right, I said next one was hell is not imposed, but work we engage in to become righter, more righteous. This process always begins and continues with love. Love, the intent to always build toward righteousness. If that's what you got love for, then your focus is going to be on the babies. If that's what you have in your mindset, though, then your focus is going to be on bettering yourself, though, because that's going to be better for the people around you. You know, sometimes you don't feel like building because you're like, I don't know why I'm doing this. I don't get no benefit out of it. I'm not doing that. But you know what, though? Other people get to be around someone that is a better person. And that should be motivation when when you can't motivate yourself. You know what I mean? The people be better for it. A lot of you are young and haven't seen the benefits of this knowledge of self. You know what I mean? But trust me, it'll extend to your family just by you doing the knowledge. Look at this now. You know what was there about this pandemic and Trump's, you know, letting races that were always there, but letting these racist seeds blossom. He let them blossom into these gross flowers. A lot of people, and that's why the woke label is even more potent, because a lot of people that were kind of blind or willing to say that was just what they do, revolution shit, militant shit, they were kind of all thrust into this world. You know what I'm saying? Like where it's real. Man, they kill anything like that. Oh, they kill us too. They do. You know what I mean? And we're watching riots though, and we're seeing white folk get beat up. It's like, man, anybody can get it. You know what I'm saying? If you're on the right side of some kind of idea, they'll give it to you. Right? And now a lot of people were thrust into a world that we inhabit every day. You know what I'm saying? Once we've got knowledge of self and learn who the devil is and know the devil's civilization, right? That we're trying to destroy. Notice I said devil civilization we're trying to destroy. We don't need to kill no devil. They have a birthright. We don't need to do anything, right? If we want to kill devils the fastest, though, you probably just, mate with them instead. That's pretty, you don't want to do that. Hey, what are you going to do that for? You know? Let's see what comments are in here. Oh, I got to get my melodic auto-tune singy rap from over on the east side. Oh, my goodness. Yeah, that shit would be whack, right? You know what I mean? Here's what we can show and prove knowledge a lot about the Indians being exiled, right? First off, it's not bad scholarship though if we go into the assignment expecting to find research that they were exiled. Why? Because Elijah Muhammad has been correct about a lot of shit that we thought was wrong, right? So that there you go with that. The other thing is this, is that when you read that book I just told you about, which I can give you if you email me, The First Americans Were Africans, there was a lot of conflict in these migrations. You know what I mean? And we know that we can make a good assumption that the Indian nations didn't know about what was done with Yaqub, like what was done by Yaqub and how he manifested this. Why? Look at how they took over North America and South America. The indigenous populations, they weren't just savage. These were working societies, very layered, incredibly advanced, right? And yet they fell victim to an enemy that they never heard of. So we also have to say logically, they didn't know shit about this, you see? Which means that there is a great possibility that this information most likely wasn't passed down. Why wouldn't it be passed down when the indigenous nations have a history of passing down information? See?
Yeah.
The only reason is because they didn't bear witness to it and expected to live alone somehow, or to escape the situation being there. These are all good logical assumptions, and why I continue with that. Now, of course, though, when you talk about stuff like this, just like Yaqub making a devil, there's a lot more research to make it like solid fact knowledge law. Like you really have to, there's a lot more work to be done though. So if I said it like it's just blatant absolute fact, it's a good counter question to me. You know what I'm saying? Because it isn't complete. You know what I'm saying? And no way do I think that the things I've said prove the degree. But I do say that nearly all of the surrounding historical information that Elijah presents from Fard through 120 has become shown to be true. You know what I mean? Right? There might be slight error, it might not be right and exact, but it's very close though. But there is some type of drift between the indigenous here on this side of what we call the poor part, to make it simple, and the best part. There is a drift. There is a separation that happens there that we have to take note of. That wasn't there at certain times because we see pyramids and the interaction. That's why you see Olmec heads. Olmec's heads are really busts of the indigenous soldiers of Kemet, the African soldiers of Kemet. Why would they have those there? See, so there was interaction, just like Sertima says, you know, and people assume that Sertima was saying that Africans founded the civilization, making indigenous people angry. He was saying that there was interaction between these people and homage was made. That was what his point was. People, you know, they don't really read the book. They just hold the book. You know what I mean? That's that old woke, because they don't even have these books now. You know what I mean? New woke don't even know about these books. They ain't even, you know what I mean? So, man, that's such a good question. You know what I mean? Because it's so much more research to be done. We don't even know. I'm still learning massive amounts of things about indigenous peoples and researching different, you know, not only the indigenous peoples that I come from, the Arawak, the so-called Taino and stuff like that, but even throughout the Americas, though. A lot of literature I have, so much catching up to do, you know, in a research that is usually geared towards showing the destruction of the indigenous as opposed to how their life was before. You know what I mean? There's a lot of research, but man, great question. I hope I gave some insight to why I went with that concept. That's Peace for Hip Hop 216. Love to see the progress. Email me, Real Hip Hop 216. I actually have a short little plus lesson that's kind of like a fact sheet, info sheet of the 1 to 36. And I have a little book list that goes particularly with that. You know what I mean? Like Beyond the Mayflower and stuff and other books, you know what I mean, that go with the 1 to 36, you know what I mean? That you can use and stuff, you know? I don't know which class it was that's online, but if you go back, I did do a class where I talked about that lesson and we went through it. You know what I mean? That might take you some time to find out, but I could still give you the lessons. You could just ask me any questions about it. You know what I mean? But there are a lot of books that are relevant, you know, to the 1 to 36 for sure, for absolute sure. All right. Next bullet build here. The maker is one action done. The owner is the maker with an active life with his creation, furthering it, nurturing it, and upholding its integrity. The labeling of any other creation's parts, best, poor, or worse, always can be in flux. So once you get to notice, though, that in that knowledge degree, the maker, when it says the maker and the owner, you really got to do the knowledge to say that the maker doesn't always get to be the owner of his shit. You know what I mean? And that the maker is only the owner if they actually own up to it. You know what I mean? And if things happen like oppression, the devil's civilization, the devil's rule, you lose ownership of all that you created. You know what I mean? And when we start to build, we got to look at how we deal with maker and owner, you know, and we create. That's also take note too of how we deal with the best part. Best part is the babies in this case that I'm talking about. When you have children, you make them, but the ownership isn't the same as other ownership. You don't really own them. You are literally their steward. You know, you own up to them, but you don't own them in that fashion. You know, and I'll say that always. You know, other people will speak differently about that, but children are not property. You know what I'm saying? They're not property. You know, I don't care how many times the baby mamas take you to court, though, they're not property. But and of course, though, best, poor, and worst parts, you know, those are always in flux, though, because things develop, other things putrefy, other things match up, right? So it's in flux, you know. Okay. All right, I said, when he likes the devil because the devil gives him nothing, he will call himself by only a distinct title, like, i.e., FBA, ADOS, Spanish, Puerto Rican, American, to make us think that we're all different. Still, these same titles, vile, like nigger, or lovely, Boricua, can also be markers of unity to show we are on different currents of the hell's 9,000 miles. What I'm saying is to say, don't be so rigid. That's some shit of woke culture too. You know what I'm saying? Somebody says that they're Boricua, it doesn't mean that they're separating themselves from you. It's that they're trying to highlight their Afro-Indigenous roots. So it's a way of connecting. Just like trust me, if a brother that's light-skinned and Latino and he's willing to sometimes to use the nigger word, it also might mean that he sees himself in some way as black and is conscious of at least the things that go on, if not the blood and the genetics being family. You know what I mean? So you got to listen to the people and the way that they use words. You can't just say one word and it's always used incorrectly at all times. That's just not language. It's not the way language works. And it's, if you're going to be a teacher, if you're going to be one that tries to communicate better with the people, because that's the first step to being a teacher of anything, because teachers are someone that's showing things. So if you're going to show your life to people, you got to be able to understand how they're communicating and how they're interpreting things for themselves, you know? So that's something to take note of, you know? Who's using these terms for separation to categorize themselves and embrace what the other man has told them they are, or who's using these definitions and titles to basically highlight what makes them one with the entire black diaspora, if we could say, right? Because I said we're on different currents of this hell's 9,000 miles. It's all different currents, though. Some people look right, so for killer wave, though. You know what I'm saying? Other people are getting smashed on the rocks. You know what I'm saying? It's all different shit. It's all different shit. Other people getting smooth transportation. They're getting free transportation. And that's why we house it. Ain't even got no, you know? Right? We go, I don't like Indian people and shit. They got it easy and shit like that because they got this, that. You getting mad at his transportation or you getting mad at his blood? Right? It's designed to do that. You know what I'm saying? It's designed to do that. You know? This whole, when we talk about hip hop, such a good example. It's the only music and culture that develops and gives itself a name in one place from an entire diaspora of original people. Most of the genres that we listen to of music, they come from a diaspora of people. People be like, oh, it's all African American and shit. Jazz comes from a diaspora. You know what I mean? Of African American, Creole, everything that was in New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? But because that mix becomes what we know as African American, we got to say it's African American. It is Black American. It is in this area. It is by them. Absolutely. But the truth is, right, is that when we talk about things like hip hop, we're seeing an entire diaspora having ideas, throwing ideas, some getting credit, some not getting credit, but all going in there. And if you analyze each part, you see where the parts come from and see that all the parts are also owned by all of them. You know what I mean? When you look at things like that, then you see that this 9,000, when the currents become the same, people start seeing like, yo, it ain't about the current. That oppression, when they start to see the oppression the same, those currents, then they're like, wait a minute, we ain't much different though. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. African Americans start to look back and say, listen, yeah, at least Puerto Ricans are light skinned though, but I got a whole family that's light skinned. But a lot of them get to pass. You know what I mean? Old Spicks can't pass though. Got to change the whole name though. You know, Rodriguez got to be Rhodes or something. I've never seen that happen. If it did, I never seen that though. I never seen, you know, probably some Cubans in Miami did that shit, but you know, that'd be the only way because you know to make sure, right? You know. So we gotta look at the difference. You know what I mean? See what we got here. Knowledge Allah, it's a good question, man. How would you define God to 85 but without going into the black man being God or any of the facts from the first degree? That's not that hard though, because a lot of times I don't go into black man being God because people don't always acknowledge black man. They acknowledge original man. You know what I'm saying? I can't go to Latinos or light-skinned niggas that look like me and go, a black man is God. They're not gonna get that. I can't do that. That current shit don't make sense. You know what I'm saying? You tell her 85 though, the supreme being. God is the supreme being, right? Everything manifests from ideas though. Everything that lives out here is an interaction of ideas. The origin of all ideas come from the mind or some type of thought, right? Every single thought and idea that you see, though, is transmitted through what? Through a certain level of chemistry, of reality, of chemistry and chemical realities that allow these thoughts to travel. Where are these thoughts coming from? As they come out from somewhere outside in space or some shit, mystery God and stuff like that, right? And he said, yeah, you're right, though. They could. That's what I said, 85. They could, right? Mm-hmm. But how is that useful to you? Mm-hmm. See? If you go by the life experiment that I live, and I've done this before, I tell them it's a life experiment, assuming that every single idea that creates all of these things comes from the mind of us, right? And now you have control over every single idea that is forthcoming that will become something, and only you could come up with it. And you take yourself and give yourself that type of control. And then God becomes what? Supreme being, that which is also being on all levels of life. The mystery God they're talking about, though, has lost purpose because he has created an entire universe that he does not engage in. You see? He also is not a master of all realms. If mastery is to be understood as a master, as being part of all the realms, being a reality in all the realms, you see? So is he a reality on the infinite level? Yeah, you put him all the way in the cosmos and shit, floating around. But is he a reality in the finite world that we engage in? See? The Son of Man, right? The rebirth of the mind, right? That's one way I do it. Hip Hop 216 said that woke culture is a joke. Can't show and prove anything. It's just something that makes people look distinctive or pseudo intelligent. You know, oftentimes it is. Sometimes I feel more saddened by it because you see a lot of really intelligent people make insightful ideas, and it's more about vindication than it is about liberation. And a lot of that, though, is because, and I'll keep it real and I'll say it to anybody, a lot of this woke culture is led by women, Black women, and they have let their emotions lead it. Let me tell you this, though. Let's keep it real, though, right? People always talk about certain people being out there in the war, people being out there in the fields, right? And we always talk about, oh, well, Black women, they've been in the front lines doing this, that. They have. They've been raising us. But as far as militancy and revolution, they haven't been on any of these fucking fields. They haven't. And don't count no king shit standing in the lunch counter getting fucked up, because that's not what I'm talking about. You know what I mean? Don't talk about Black Panthers because there was women in there. Don't talk about Young Lords because there was women in there. But think about the movements, though, that gave the ideologies that we're all dealing with, though. Because then you got to go beyond Black Panthers and Young Lords. You got to go to Garveyites. You got to go to Garvey. You got to go to Rasta. You got to go to the Nation of Islam. And you got to go to us. I just named 4 cornerstones, like 4 major movements. That I don't see any women engaging in the thought process of those 4 movements, that if you don't really know how they worked in the street, you wasn't in the shit. You weren't in it. So when we look at how they make the movement, they don't know how it was on the street level, the most dangerous level, the level where livelihood also mixes in with criminality, and the lines blur all the time. And so you see a lot of woke culture led by women, though, and they have no idea about what it was to get, let's say, what is this knowledge of self? And then when they speak about things, they say a lot of stuff, though, that really comes from this knowledge of self. And they out there tweeting reinventions of the wheel. You know what I'm saying? Literally reinventing the wheel with tweets. You know what I mean? Not saying that women can't lead anything. But I'm saying, though, if you go to war, though, I want to know what the other generals did in battle. They didn't do that. You know what I mean? I've been in certain ciphers, though, where I seen, let's say, I seen Dominican women's groups of young woke females and they don't know a damn thing about the Young Lords. They never heard of that. They don't know shit about the Black Panthers stuff. So that means that they don't even know. They'll be talking about their emotional vindication. Let me wear my hair the way I want to. Let me be free. Things like that, you know? Things that are relevant and real. And they reinvent the wheel, not knowing how sisters did it before, because they're not in touch. So all of this over-categorization, they go into these battlefields over-categorized and all separate too. You know what I mean? And that's why you see a lot of the LGBTQ, they have a lot of power in these groups. Because the LGBTQ, once you on that tip, they educate you. They educate you. You know what I'm saying? They know about all that shit and they teaching that shit ASAP. You know what I mean? Right? See, the thing is, right? You come here, you said Black women, Panther women are not included in that group. They bust their guns. That's one of my points, though. A lot of the sisters that are getting woke, they're not in, it's not that they're not just in tune. They don't have a connection to that. Let me give you an example of what I'm talking about, right? I got radicalized as a Puerto Rican young man to Puerto Rican independence, right? When I got radicalized, my mentor was the one who took one of the people that took over Colgate University. I ended up learning with Mickey Melendez because of him, that mentor, right? And learning with one of the Young Lords and learning about the Young Lords. I had direct contact with people that was there. When you get the knowledge, you're being put in an entire tree of knowledge. And so when you build a lot of you learning from me and Darkim, you're building with people that was building with Firstborn Prince, that was building with Firstborns, that were in the same time and the same ciphers as Malcolm X. The same realities. They were making choices based on the moves that they were making and had their ear to the street. So there's a different information that's passed down. And so when I talk about revolution, it has a different context than somebody that says, listen, I want everybody to treat me all the same and let me wear my hair the way I want to. You know what I'm saying? I'm being funny. I'm being an asshole. You know what I'm saying? But they're not connected from that. And then they think that they don't need to be connected to that. You know what I'm saying? The things that you deal with or how you connect yourself doesn't mean that you'll be that. You know what I mean? And the fact is that they have very little connection to the history that they have. You know what I mean? A lot of the people that are woke and stuff that actually have good things to say or something like that, they're very connected in the history of battle in the establishment. You know what I'm saying? So like you put, like, I'll give you a good example. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, right? She's not coming from militant ciphers where I was coming from. But the ciphers that she goes into, she knows and is connected to all the history of those political movements that lead to her, and is very well versed. And so for her young age, she's extremely articulate in the ciphers that are demanded and what she's demanding. But she's not trying to get what we're trying to get. And so we let people redefine what Black power, Black liberation, Black and brown power, whatever that means, though, and they never seen Black and brown power. They never seen that. You know what I'm saying? They don't know how it worked in Chicago. They don't know how it worked in California. They don't know shit. And I'm saying the books ain't going to give it to you. They weren't connected to anybody in that. You know what I mean? It's different. There's a lot of stuff I know that aren't in books. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's key. Yeah, that's key.
That's peace, Sun God Allah. Glad you're taking notes. Right? Indeed, indeed. You know what I'm saying? It's just missing a lot of things. It's got a lot of articulation, but not a lot of information. Yeah, take over Colgate. This has got to be in the yeah, this has to be in the 60s into the 70s, you know. Yeah. Definitely. You know. And look, this next one I'm going to read, though, is really relevant to what we were saying here. I said the original man is made up of the black and brown germ, not one silly germ, Negro. Weak builders focus on the black germ being the only supreme seed that had to be destroyed to make devil. The black germ, as the brown or the yellow, is only destructible when separated from its other germ. When the black germ is separated from the brown is when it is weakened. It is together that they are supreme and mighty. Live that science as a social metaphor. Okay. And again, like I said, this germ can only be separated though during the process where they are most vulnerable, and that is in the mating process. You see, the mating process, right? It's really that simple. Okay, and what this EBL is. Ego-based learning is when students of the knowledge of self are subjected to what the ego-ridden guy coming in the name of something almighty, like cares to only talk about what's important to him. His lectures are his daily rants, and his parliament speeches are the themes of his depression. Ain't that the case, man? Everything goes wrong is because somebody's up there giving you the reasons why he's depressed. You know what I mean? Right? This is why I hate shit and shit like that. You know what I mean? It's hard to judge a crowd. You know, it's hard to judge a crowd. When you build in front of the parliament, you know what I mean? You don't know what the people need to hear. It's not like you can ask them, and it's not a comedy. It's not a comedy gig. You know, it's not a comic gig. So you can't just say what things that you think will hit and then see if it hits. All you can do is go up there and share, like, listen, in my experiences lately, what have been the most useful things I think I've seen? And then share that. So it is very personal. But it also can lend itself to becoming rants and shit. You know what I mean? There's a heavy one here. MGT and GCC, right? Muslim Girl Training General Civilization. Basically, these classes teach women. They most often fail because men arrogantly expect obedience, while women fiendishly expect dependence, opting for destructive dependence, right? Over true interdependence as a full family unit, okay? Or that should be destructive independence. See, what's interesting about the way Black women are taught in this woke world is that they talk all this, equality though, but it's not equality. They talk like it's equality of sameness, but that's not what they're expecting. They want all the shit that they already had to keep it as convenient as possible. So they want the same levels of dependence that they had before, the same reverence of dependence though. Treat them like flowers, make sure that they don't wilt and things like that, right? But when it's convenient though, they want to be independent. And the truth is both of those are incorrect. It's independence that's needed though. And a lot of women ain't ready for that. You know what I mean? And when you talk about interdependence, you talk about women taking on the role of leading, women leading a household, though, monetarily or financially, and then vice versa. Sometimes you shift. Look at all the people that went through this, though, with this pandemic, though. They go down the line. And just, you know, people talk about it, though. They talk about, like, we're in the 1950s. So, yeah, women have to stay at home now. Like, so it went straight down the line. Only women lost their jobs that had them.
Yeah, I saw them with that narrative.
Does that make sense?
No.
That's not really what really happened.
Yeah.
In fact, a lot of women didn't lose their jobs, and men are the ones that lost their jobs, right? And again, interdependence, though, isn't just both people doing everything. It's sometimes it shifts. Sometimes that man is leading and doing everything. And sometimes that woman is doing everything because the man is preparing something else. You know what I mean? Or rising up from a situation, focusing on new hustles, whatever it is, right? Because today's economy doesn't afford anyone a full salary. It doesn't give anyone a living wage. You know what I mean? So parents in family households have to both work, right? All right. I would hope that they were built for that interdependent 793rd, but I don't think so. You know what I'm saying? That's what gets me a lot about the woke movement and stuff, because especially with a lot of women, though, they want to be seen as independent, though, but then they also want the same reverence, though. You know, you can't play the role of the stem if you always want to be treated like a flower. You know what I mean? Right? You ain't always gonna get both. All right, the last one here that I wrote. The original man has got his proper name is Allah. His overwhelming talents and positive connections with the people make him endeared and leave with many other titles and namings of great respect and love. It is peace to accept these honors. I really said that because in my life, though, I've gotten a lot of titles and stuff. You know, people call me skill illustrator, things like that. The honorable name that you have, whatever it is, you know what I'm saying? You don't make yourself, you could do it, but your name isn't blank blank Allah because you change it on a birth certificate. You know what I mean? People won't remember you as that because they wanted to or because they ought to. It's because they had to. You changed the shit. You know what I'm saying? The shit. You know what I mean? We don't even know how to remember him because you changed the shit. You know? How are people going to remember him, though? Okay? I'm just pointing him out, but it's not to, say nasty shit about him. I'm just saying. Right? When people tell your story, though, will it be completely, right, untold without your righteous name? Right? Are they going to need to say that righteous name? See, I know that any historian, anybody that writes about me, and they ain't say shit, though, if they just use my honorable name. They lost the whole story, though. They ain't got none of it. You know what I'm saying? So the most high title, though, you got to make it. The most high name, you got to make it live. And along the way, you're going to get titles. You know, you might get titles of respect, honor, and all that kind of shit. And it's a beautiful thing. 790, yes, as well as the confusion it puts on their mate to know their role. Indeed. You know what I mean? I definitely see that. You know what I'm saying? I definitely see that. You know what I mean? See, the thing is, too, and that's why Black men are expected, and I'm saying all original men, they're, especially the most oppressed, are expected to bring home a living wage. You know what I mean? And they are chastised if they don't bring home a living wage. Right? If the woman doesn't bring home a living wage, she always has the excuse that she gets paid half of what men get, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? She's a woman. So you have to go work along with her. You know what I mean? But it's also very anecdotal for me, the hypocrisies of that point. You know what I mean? Like I said, I got 2 baby mamas though, so I know about the hypocrisies. And you know, I could go into anecdotal notes forever. You know what I mean? Especially when you have a trade like I do as a writer, editor. You know what I'm saying? My whole life though has been hustle. You know, and those have a lot of peaks and valleys. But I'm saying Real Hip Hop 216 is like when you show and prove why your righteous name is yours. Just think about it for a minute. Do I don't have to prove that I'm Sunez Allah. I don't have to prove that. The shit that I give to the world is already proof. You know what I mean? They can't give it to nobody else. That's how you gotta look at what you're doing. You're gonna build so much that they can say that's the God, you know what I'm saying? That's him, you know what I'm saying? That defines what he was to the T about all that he did. That's what the righteous name is gonna be left as. You know? If you don't do shit with that name though, you just be Johnny. John Boy. Indeed. But yeah, that was the piece. You know, I wanted to go through it because I had a lot of points and stuff, and I had written it like that, like a checklist and stuff. Hopefully you find it useful. And yeah. And that actually ended. I didn't know I was talking so much though. We're pretty much at the end of the class. So unless you have anything, we're pretty much at the end of this. So you let me know any questions that you have. Oh, I appreciate that 793rd. I didn't even get to do a book of the week though, because I knew that going through the article was going to be enough. And this book is such, it leads you into a wonderful world of philosophy, and I wanted to talk about it in thorough, you know what I'm saying? And I'll probably revisit. I have so many books from this philosopher. I'll probably revisit some, you know what I'm saying? My favorite time of year of reading is at the end of the year, especially when I read my required. I always read at least 52 books a year, right? So when I finally finish that 52 books a year, I just feel so relieved and accomplished that I can, I know it sounds funny, but I could read for fun. You know what I'm saying? You know? Yeah. So I could read some of these bigger juggernaut books or plan how I'm going to read these bigger books and go into a lot of other books. You know what I'm saying? But definitely though, I more, you know, certain people that, yeah, definitely is going to be a good read though, you know, definitely going to be good. And that's another book I have to get into because I have that too. How to read that as soon as possible, you know. But yeah, since we're on the plug tip here, definitely get Dark Kim's album, Support the God, you know what I'm saying? Because in the entire career that I've covered him, he's always been annoying, like the, you know, like Tupac, you know, when you get annoyed with Tupac, when he always got like other people rhyming, and you're like, damn, Tupac was killing it, and then he got,
Somebody else.
Tupac, yeah, Dark Kim always has a whole squad, and a lot of guys rhyme crazy with Dark Kim, but you never got to see a Dark Kim long player, like where he just delves into his own ideas. You know what I'm saying? And this is it though. Even Dark Kim has a very, very impressive cat. He actually has 2 records out this year. Son of Joseph is the other one. You go to famelabs.bandcamp, you see all of them though. But great records, man.
Yeah, I copped the new joint. It was nice.
Yeah, definitely.
It was nice.
Definitely,
Even autographed my copy too. So.
Oh, that's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's up. Classic Stone Radio, when DJ Toshi finishes hooking it all up, got the really deep interview with him and Endemic,
Word. Yeah, I saw that one you did with A-Cream too. I was out.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I was trying to like link with the guy, but like he was busy. So.
Yeah. A-Preem. Yeah, a lot of the guys have great work this year. People saying like, oh, Busta Rhymes teaching and shit like that.
Nah,
There's a lot of gods that have been building.
Yo, son, what do you think about like the Raz Fresco, the Magneto was right series?
Oh yeah, I mean, yeah, he sent me Magneto number 7.
Yo, I haven't even heard 7 yet.
Yeah.
I'm waiting to hear it. Like,
There's another example. Raz Fresco, Dark Kim, A-Preem, Allah Preem from Rochester. Go to allahpreem.bandcamp. You see the guy from Rochester. He has about 4 EPs, 4 EPs he releases here, and the bootleg one is my favorite. Then you got SD who always releases shit.
I love SD.
God, always, yeah. You know what I mean? Probably the most progressive out of all of them. Where you hear like, stuff that you never heard. He really experiments. He's the most progressive.
Yo, but you heard the ones before 7, or you just starting at 7?
No, I got everything. Yeah, too. Come on. Yeah, I got all of them. Yeah, I got all of them. Yeah.
Yo, I want to put you up on. I don't know if I need to put you up on them, but do you know how to see Medina St. John?
St. John?
Yeah.
No.
JHON.
JSANT.
Then JHON. St. John. Yeah.
I don't know. That sounds familiar. Maybe
Yeah,
I have.
Is laced with like 120.
Oh yeah. Email me something if there's a link to it. Yeah.
SoundCloud. SoundCloud and YouTube. I'll send you the link.
Yeah. Definitely, the God's got a lot of stuff. And by the way, you'll see Starmel advertising it. The last book of the Righteous Way trilogy is coming out, the Infinity Edition, and I edited that. So I edited all of them, the whole trilogy. I edited, but this one is the best one. This one is the best one. And now now if you don't have them, you can get them in a box set, like all 3 of them.
Yeah, I don't have those. I just cracked open the knowledge.
So if you don't have any of the Righteous Way, save up and get the whole trilogy, because he's gonna sell them in a box set. It looks real pretty. You know what I mean? But yeah, he put a lot of work into that. I put a lot of work editing that. Great stuff, man. The gods, yo, front on the gods. Busta Rhymes just scratching the surface, though. That's the party jam, though. That's not where you have fun with Busta Rhymes, though. But then when you get that real work, you put that A-Preem, the Dark Kim, then you get to getting those sets in and that training in. You know what I'm saying? That's that tough stuff. But do you have any good, not so layman sources for the name Asia? You mean etymology of Asia, right? Nah, there's a lot of etymology sources of Asia. In fact, all you have to do is Wikipedia has good stuff about the etymology of Asia, actually, because they show you the different. There's two major etymological viewpoints, that it comes from Pangea, which is how we're seeing it, because that goes with degree. And then there's others that don't see it that way, and you can see the 2 points. But there's good references on that in Wikipedia, I mean, sometimes we go deep into shit, but sometimes Wikipedia has it, though. And they have the references there. I was like, a lot of stuff that I spent a lot of time looking for, I saw it on Wikipedia. So I was like, you could be lazy now. No, I'm just kidding. But you could start with there. You could start there. You know. Nah, I give you look STNAC, La Prime, A Prime, Dark Him, Raz Fresco. These are all people that released albums this year. Let's see. Check out this guy because I can't even be a writer and historian about this without a list of all the shit I get. Internet is being a real bitch. But I'm trying to think because there are actually a lot of artists that I'm actually teaching. So I don't want to say that they're the god yet because there's Tyler Dale, Source Heist. Yeah. I interviewed them too. Those guys are great. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Source Heist. Yeah, Source Heist. Tyler Dale. Literally this year. That and they're not whack. If you don't like them, you don't. I don't know what the hell's wrong with you. It's really like that.
Yeah, God Golden. He just dropped this one.
Let's see. There was somebody else. And trust me, a lot of people that say are deep or something like that, you don't know if they have knowledge stuff. Trust me, we build them with them. If they sound got knowledge and shit, I might be building with them. You know what I'm saying? J Live, the God J Live, veteran, he came out with an album this year. That's another one. And
Somebody just put, I have all the above, but I never did not that title.
Right. Yeah. So there's J Live, there's others. This chat is disconnecting. My connection sucks. So I'm gonna let everybody go. If you email me or anything like that, catch me on social media. I've been giving links to all this stuff. You know what I mean? Right? But a lot of stuff. You could blow all your money on God Test rapping. That's how many there are. You know what I mean? But until next week, everybody, and until you contact me, peace.